a lot.
See it? Did the cannon scare you? I thought I hit something.
Hey.
Pag-live ko naman ay sa harap pa yung mukha, yung ano, yung camera. Yung dali kasi nini, ito na hindi ko naalala.
Bukas na lang tayo magpapicture.
Pangit ang camera ko eh, madilim.
Rachel, come on, let's go here. They are just
The flash gun.
heard it. We were at the farmer's market.
I figured you'd probably hear it.
We're like,
We
where
haven't
was
got a lot
that
of
coming
public. I
from?
said, we left at 12 and started seeing a lot of people come up to the morning.
Well, you guys all done firing?
We'll fire at 3. We'll begin at 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock. And then they'll have the pipe and drum corps here after that.
Well, actually, the fun part, at least with
If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. We're Continental Marines. We did not
good for
fight
heads,
at
good for doors. Doing a
But in
documentary.
1777, 3 companies of Marines were attached to Henry Knox's artillery
2005,
train.
2006
That's what we
Revolution
portrayed, 'cause
series.
one of those
I'm in
companies.
9 episodes. We got to knock it
So
down.
that's what we are.
You got to knock a door with it?
That
Was the door actually
most of our fighting,
It was
most
closed,
of
it
our
was
fighting,
latched.
most
It
of
was
our
not
fighting would
locked.
have been
We
done
got to
at
bang the
sea.
door open. We were told,
And you
don't
can't
really
imagine any
break it.
battlefield any
Yeah,
more
knock it in,
hellacious
don't
than a
break
wooden
it.
ship at sea in
Private,
battle.
private venue.
Well, you're here on land,
But
you
that
start
was
to
very
lose the
sad.
battle, you can run away.
Exactly. I was saying.
Unfortunately, on board ship, there's no place to go.
A lot of times, yeah,
Your
the gun doesn't
battlefield
go
is
off.
20, 25 feet
In
wide,
fact, during a
60,
bayonet
70
charge,
feet
you
long.
have a
You
bayonet
wanna be
above
successful.
your musket.
And you either win or you lose.
That's
There's
it.
no
Doesn't
in
mean that's
between.
it.
There's
You wanna
no
be
running away and we'll fight another day.
Club as you went in. Preferentially, though, you use this.
But anyway, the
gun doesn't really
yeah, well, you got #1 killer on board ship during combat. You have any
You
idea?
had no height
What was that?
Killer
As long as
in
you
combat.
carry it, you're in.
on the ship.
On board ship.
Probably the
Oh, yeah,
ropes and the mast.
A little teeny one.
16 inches
Huh?
of triangular
No, I'm talking about
steel.
in combat.
Oh, in combat.
Think
Oh,
about it.
Say,
And in fact, Americans didn't like them until
probably
you were actually trained.
malfunction of the wrong equipment.
You shoot the 24-pound cannonball, 24-pound cannonball through a foot of oak. Wood splinters.
Ah,
You have
yeah.
wood splinters the size of these swords and bayonets flying around at rifle bullet velocity. To literally impale a man. Your gunners who walked the gunners walk actually wore the Spanish-style breastplate and backplate to protect their vitals from the wood splinters. If you go actually to the Portland
Okay, yeah,
Museum,
it
it's
is
still
to,
there.
it is to put a projectile
Closed down.
into the
But it's still there. They have John Paul Jones' breastplate there. And it actually has a thing inside of it to see where it was hit. Either a musket ball or a splinter or something.
Their shrapnel was a little bit different.
But that was the #1 killer during battles. Yeah, disease was a big killer. Not so much on at sea normally, unless it was a very long cruise, as it was on land. Land disease was the #1 killer. #1 killer after that, artillery. They killed more men with artillery than they did with all other weapons combined. King of the battlefield. The king of the battlefield. And was and still is, actually. King of the battlefield.
well, Massachusetts, why not? But one of our masters
I boarded, I carried anywhere from 6 to 8 of these boarding pistols. The reason I carried 6 to 8 of them was because I didn't have time to reload. You're fighting belly to belly. You got no time to back off and reload a pistol. So you just fired it, dropped it, grabbed the next one, fired it, dropped it, grabbed the next one until you got the last one. I'm left-handed, so I would have my sword in my left hand and reverse the last pistol and use the brass bound butt. No, these are all everything here is replica. The only thing I have is original is the cannon around behind my tent. That's the original. It was cast in 1763. One of House's guns that came south of John Brazil.
So suddenly,
you were original. No, I'm not quite that old. I'm getting there. I went to I do also do
So are
world.
you saying that when the mold made him, they threw it away, right? It's pretty
They couldn't do any better than that.
There you go. I like that answer.
me in there the close second.
But the
Those pistols, you only got one shot out of them.
yes, one shot.
Wow.
Same as the muskets and the rifles, only fired one shot.
How far did those shoot?
Pistols,
Yeah.
if you're lucky, length of the ship, with any accuracy. Now usually these were loaded prior to the battle, so they were loaded better than anything we were loading during battle. So that is a piece of great shot, but that's actually made of lead. It would be made of cast iron, not lead. They would have preloaded these, so they probably would have wrapped the ball in a thin layer of leather or something like that. So these would have been more accurate because of the fact that they had a patch around the ball. But if they were loaded during battle, there was no patch around the ball. That's money.
Yeah, they used to cut this to make smaller changes.
Yeah, your buttons could be used as money. Metal. That's 2 bits you're holding in your hand. This is a Spanish coin. It's a Spanish dollar. It is the only coin we really had. We had some British money that was floating around at the time, but the major coin we had was Spain. Spain gave us a ton of money during the Revolutionary War, which very few people know. This is the Spanish Rial, or Spanish Real. Another name for this stuff. Have an idea what it is?
Silver ale?
You like pirates? roll doubloons and pieces of 8. A piece of 8. No, doubloon is gold. This was silver. It's called a piece of 8. And the reason it's called a piece of 8 is because it can be divided into 8 equal pieces to use as change. So if I went in to buy something in a store and it was 25 cents, I'm not going to give them $1. So they would cut it. They had a thing similar to a paper cutter. They cut it.
Yep, yep.
And they would cut it and take a quarter out of it. Now I went into another store and they would cut out another quarter for something else. Now I have a half a dollar.
Right.
Then they would cut it again and I would have 2 bits. It could be cut one more time into a bit.
So that would be 25 cents.
That's 25 cents, right. 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. Now, this would be a silver button. That would be worth quite a bit of money. I could get very drunk in a tavern and probably have a good time on top of it. This was pewter. They would have gotten probably a large rum or something for that. Buttons were hard to come by, metal buttons especially because of the war. So if a soldier came to formation without buttons on his uniform, he'd better have turned in the information to his sergeant or his officer that he had lost a button, or he could be flogged for selling his buttons. This is the cat of nine tails here. This is a naval cat. Now notice it's made of rope, not leather. Well, leather rots at sea very readily. 2 of these would hang in the captain's cabin in red flannel bags. And if you were working on deck, talking, to your co-eds as you were working, complaining about the food on board ship, the officers especially on the ship, the bosun might come by and bump you with his knee or his elbow and say, "Don't let the cats out of the bag."
Ah, so that's what it's saying.
And if you were given
Because you had to keep more
punishment,
morale up.
you would be stripped to the waist. A large leather belt would be put around your kidney line to protect your kidneys. You would be strapped to a hatchway. It would be put up against the poop deck at the rear, and spread eagled on that, and 2 of these would be applied, one from the left and one from the right. And the officers would stand above. And they were applied by either the first sergeant of Marines or motion maker, usually most, who were big grody men. Now you may have read or heard where in the Army, the British Army especially, men survived 200 lashes, 400 lashes, and walked away afterwards. But that was because in the Army, the drummer boys swing the whip. 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. Not 25-year-old full-grown bosun's mate that's been pulling on ropes since he was 8 years old. 20 lashes with this whip with bare bone on the man's back. Now, everybody said, well, it doesn't have no authority. It's rope. They put musket balls in each tail to give it weight. And it was, not only did it strike, but you struck and dragged it as you struck it across the back. And this would tear as it went across the back, not just whip, it would tear.
So that was a good deterrent from any misbehavior.
400 lashes with this
Must
whip
have
was
put them out of
was a
commission
death
for a
warrant.
little
200
bit,
would
though.
probably kill you, 400 definitely would.
Ask him to explain the use of that grog.
Which one? Oh, the grog? Well, you have 2 different cups here. These are rum ration cups. Now, each man's entitled to 1 gill of rum a day, which is both of these put together. And so, that's what kept him healthy. But they used it as money. So if somebody was a scrimshaw and I had this whale's tooth I'd gotten and I wanted it scrimshawed for my girlfriend and he did a really beautiful job, I might give him half my rum rations for 2 or 3 days, because to get it done for me. So they actually used it as money on board ship because they really didn't have any. Well, that caused people to get drunk, fall out of the rigging, get into fights, or even fall overboard. So a French admiral came up with a bright idea of cutting down on the alcohol by making equal parts rum, wine, and water, mixing it together. And the British Navy named it grog. Most of the navies in the world were doing grog by the time of the Revolution. I have had grog. The rum that they use is blackjack molasses rum. It's about 190 proof, almost pure alcohol. It's very sweet because of the molasses that's made from. The wine that they sold on board ship for the enlisted men was almost vinegar more than it was wine. It had that bitter vinegary taste. And then the water was kept in pine hogsheads. big pine barrels stored in the below deck. So all the water had a pine pitch taste to it. So you had those three lovely flavors together, and you have grog. Which, by the way, is an old Saxon term which refers to what runs down behind the cows in the barn. And it does.
That's what it is.
Horrible tasting.
Is it horrible?
In order to get men to join the Continental Navy, we went back to the rum ration. Now, when you came on board to sign on board my ship, there were several questions I asked. Number one, had you served on board ship before? How much time? Can you swim? You said yes. Go along. I don't want you. I don't want you. You can swim. You can desert.
Ah.
The next question I'm going to ask you before you take your shirt off and turn around. I want to see your back. If your back's a mass of scars, you're a troublemaker, and I don't want you on board my ship. Those were basic questions. Now, you also had to smile at the man. You had to have at least 2 opposing teeth in order to join. Because that's how you open the cartridge. You have to bite it off. So you have to have at least 2 opposing teeth in order to join, so that you'll be able to open a cartridge. The Army was the same way. They had to have 2 opposing teeth in order to join the Army.
We've come a long way.
Well, I wonder sometimes, but anyway.
That's another topic.
The sword, the front sword that's towards you is my officer's sword. That's a Scottish light sword. That was designed originally as for the Lowland Scots for fighting against the Scottish broadsword, the Basket Hill broadsword, and the claymore from the Highland Scot, which weighs 18 pounds. And therefore the blade had to take that strike without breaking. And it's triangular shape, hollowed out triangular shape to take that force without breaking. I only sharpened the first 4 inches in the tip because it's not a slashing weapon. It's a stabbing and just cutting weapon. Have you ever seen the movie Rob Roy?
No.
No. Well, if you ever see that movie, at the very end of the movie, he has a duel with a Scottish fop, and he is fighting with the Lowland sword. The other guy's fighting with that. He's tearing him to shreds. The other guy finally gets smart, lets him run him through, and grabs the blade so he can't pull it back out, and then hacks him to death with the sword. This is my men's enlisted sword. It's called a light sword. It's anything but. It's a meat cleaver. Is all it is. They're never trained for this. I mean, you're fighting belly to belly. There's no finesse in sword play. I mean, you watch your pirate movies and all that, where they're tick, 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 back and forth. It's whack, 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 stab. I mean, there's no finesse to it at all. So this was my enlisted men's sword there, and this is the reason I carried this. This is a cutlass. Again, 8-9 pounds of sword. Could break a normal small sword very easily. That's why I carried that. And this was carried by petty officers, NCOs on board the ship, bosun's mates, this type of thing, and some officers even when they went on board in a boarding party. Boarding hatchet used also. Behind you is a boarding pike. That was used by men boarding also, although that's a small one. Most of your boarding pikes were anywhere from 6 to 8 inches across the lead, where that one's about 3. Right there, yeah, it'd be 6 to 8. So if you stab somebody, you open up a 6 to 8 inch wide gash in their belly. They're not going to get up and fight again. I mean, you stab them with that, they're not going to get up and fight again. But,
Yeah, something bigger than that. Wow.
This is a rum ration canteen. A man would carry rum in that. My sergeant usually would carry rum in that. The man committed a crazy, heroic stunt during a battle. He would get a drink out of that for a reward. If a man was badly wounded, he would get a drink out of that to help extend his pain and help him heal. Because rum was medicine. It wasn't booze.
They poured it on and
alcohol, yeah. Alcohol in the 18th century was considered medicine. It was not considered alcohol as we consider it today. If you didn't drink a certain amount of alcohol a day, it wasn't good for your insides. It kept your insides working properly. And they're finding it out actually by doing studies. I mean, a certain amount of beer a day helps against cancer, and wine supposedly helps against cancer.
It's always that thing, too much of a good thing.
Well, that's it. I mean, you can go too far with this whole thing.
That's right.
I mean, I mean, it's just like anything. I mean, I person I know that actually started getting stomach ulcers from drinking too much milk.
Yeah.
So you can do too much of anything.
That's right, moderation.
Yeah. But these are the stocks worn by my men around their necks, worn here to protect the throat from sword slash, bayonet, pike point. They're made from the shoulder hide of a bull. They would have been about twice as thick as this is.
Oh, wow.
Would have been twice as thick as that. They would be cut to shape, then they would be soaked in boiling seawater, let cool, and then put on and worn until they dry. Would harden them just like the top of this table. Now, if you came to, this is the enlisted man's, which is black. You came to my formation without wearing this, it was 15 lashes, without a question.
So you put yourself
So
at
some
risk.
men were so afraid they'd forget to put them on, they had them sewn on permanently.
To their neck?
Yeah.
Or just...
Around their neck, yeah. They would just sew it in the back so they couldn't take it off. And there was one fellow, I read a diary entry that he had been in the Marines for 3 years during the Revolutionary War and still couldn't look at his shoe toes without bending over. Because he couldn't put his chin down.
So
You
you
can't put
had
your chin down with
actually
this.
bend right over.
This is the exact size. So if I put this on, it's like a cervical collar. I can't put my head down.
Yeah, I could use that on some patients.
Yeah. But it's very similar to what the other cervical collar today.
This is a bayonet.
That's the bayonet. That goes on the end of the musket. 16 inches of steel. About 3/4 of an inch at the base, tapering to a point, three-sided, triangular. Triangular for strength. Also, it's almost impossible to heal a triangular wound, just like trying to sew up a triangular tear or something.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it in skin either.
No, you can't.
Most men died from disease from this, infection from this, rather than from the initial wound.
Yeah, because it would never heal. Pardon.
But you would you would fire your shot, then they would give you an order to fix bayonets. You turn your 18th century pole arm into or fire rock rather, into a 15th century pole arm and go at your enemy.
I remember seeing in movies, I don't know how true it is, but they would resort to them, their leaders would
There was
tell
no
them.
resort to them. I mean,
Well,
that was the
like
plan
if
of
you run
battle.
out of, you're running low on ammunition and stuff
Well,
like
no,
that, and then they would say it's time to
especially
put
the
your
British.
bayonets
The
on.
British at the time of the Revolutionary War were the finest army in the world with a bayonet. So the whole idea of firing 3 or 4 inaccurate shots a minute was to maneuver yourself around the battlefield, because once you got all that going, you can't see because of powder smoke. It's called the fog of battle. Get yourself in a position where you think you have the advantage. Put that bayonet on and go into your enemy. No low on ammunition. It was planned.
It was just,
That was the whole idea of European warfare in the time of the 18th century. Now they came over here and they're complaining mightily because we won't meet them face to face on the battlefield. We're hiding on trees and rocks and shooting at them and then running away. You know, which is cowardly. You know, no, it's smart. I mean, the Indians kicked the living daylights out of the British during the French and Indian War. Why the hell shouldn't we use the same tactics? You know, we were later able to meet them on the battlefield and defeat them at the Battle of Monmouth. We defeated the British Army. At Saratoga, we defeated the British Army, not with a bayonet charge, but none of our battles did we win with a bayonet charge. At Yorktown, the most important battle we basically won the war, although it didn't end for 3 years. But that was the last major battle. There were a few other minor ones here and there, but the major battle was over. And Yorktown was basically an artillery war. The infantry did take redoubt 9 and 10, which we turned the cannon in the redoubt so that they were less than 200 yards from the British line. And we're talking 24-pound cannon. They would just tear right through anything they had there, so it was a matter of time until they surrendered at that point. The cannon is around behind the tent. She's cast in 1763. The original tube was one of Couch's guns that came south with John Burgoyne in the Hessian artillery train. It's a 6-pound brass gun. The tube weighs about 180 pounds. It was used mainly against infantry. That 6-pound ball is not much you use against fortification, unless it was a light wooden fortification, then you might use it with a solid ball, but very rarely was something that might be used against any kind of fortification of any size or defensive. But it was hell against infantry. The weapon that killed more men than any other weapon during the Revolutionary War was the artillery. They killed more men than all other weapons combined in battle. I would start at about 600 yards or so, firing solid shot, firing grazing fire where it would hit like 100 feet or so in front of the enemy and bounce across the ground into them, and it would be like a pinball. It would bounce all over inside and hit 3 or 4 or 5 men instead of just 1 or 2. When they got into about 200 yards, I changed over to grape shot. I put 6 pounds of that down the barrel and start firing it like a big shotgun. When they got into 150 yards, I would switch over to Lindridge. Now Lindridge is anything I can put together, go down the barrel of that thing in a bag. Whether it be river gravel, nails, glass, anything. 6 pounds of it down the barrel. And we start firing that at about 150 yards, again like a huge shotgun. And the last shot fired at 17 yards. Then I would take the gun and withdraw it to an area where we had pre-designated it to be put to recover, to cover our infantry if we should have to retreat. At 17 yards, it will clear a hole 80 feet wide, 60 feet wide, and everything in the middle of that thing
Was the younger, faster guys that wanted to go running in the woods.
There will be people hit as far as 10 yards outside of that. My stray people that went off. Actually, when you fired Lindridge, the men had to be back at the hubs of the wheel because it actually came out in more than 100 meters free. So that actually would come to the rear.
Heard from that. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Excuse me, are you ladies suffragette?
Yeah, go get some chow. I'll go after you.
She's got the suffragette color scheme going, so I was thinking it was green and white. She must be.
Why are you all dressed up?
Beautiful. Very nice. What era was that dress with the big sleeve?
I believe it's 1891. This money was for
Late 1800s, yeah.
Not really there yet, but they were getting there. Sort of started.
You're going to have to go up the steps, you know. It's in the kitchen.
So where's the biggest goblet?
Huh? Yeah, there's a railer.
Logistics was in Washington, D.C.
None of the Egyptian.
People recommend them and everything. They're great.
No button shoes. That's not fair. You're supposed to have to wear button shoes. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to see a Marine with a grenade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I heard that's your coat there.
Huh?
I heard that's your coat there.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Yeah, we do a unit of Continental Marines.
Okay.
During 1777, 3 companies of Marines.
I know all about it. I do the impression.
Oh, you do?
Where are you located?
I'm out of Pomfret, Vermont. Pomfret. It's up by Woodstock, Red River Junction area.
Oh, okay. Not too far. I'm right here in North Bennington.
Yeah, okay.
And I've done Continental Marines. Last time they had a battle at the Saratoga battlefield.
Yeah, I don't go over there.
Yeah, that was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And 9 years ago at least.
Yeah, we have an original cannon. One I've got back there was cast in 1763. It's one of Pouch's guns that came south with Burgoyne.
Oh, okay.
Light 6-pounder.
Yeah.
And we do that in pressure and artillery. Actually, most of my men actually wear the work shirt. They don't wear the regiment. Because in 1776 and 75, when they first came in, it was because of lack of material, they all wore work shirts. They didn't wear the common work shirt dyed green.
Okay.
After 1777, when the wool became available, they started getting regimentals. They kept the work shirt as a team shirt. When they were cleaning cannons, when they were working on the cannon, when they were firing. So when they went to Knox's artillery terrain, when they were working on the cannon, they wore the work shirt. They weren't wearing them.
Was that in Pluckerman, New Jersey?
Morristown. Morristown.
Moorestown.
That's where they winter quartered.
Okay.
And then they were involved in the rest of it. Actually, the man I portray resigned his commission of Marines in late '77 and became a captain in the fourth. That's why I got them that way. They fall over, they come this way.
Yeah.
Fourth Continental in the Fourth Continental Artillery, which is the smartest artillery unit out there because they wear all black, except for their shirt. Now, it's the ship's carbine.
Yeah, that's a nice little.
That's what
you don't
Marines
call
would
it
have
a fusil,
had.
you call it a carbine. Huh?
Use the ship's carbine in British or in Charleville. Because climbing the rigging would have. Well, originally they didn't. When they first started out, they got whatever the Committee of Safety handed over to them, which would have been anything they didn't want.
Did you custom shorten a first model for that?
No. You can order these.
Oh.
Every one of my men's got one.
It doesn't have the little keeper on the end to keep the ramrod from falling out if you're firing down at the deck, does it? It's just.
It does.
Oh.
It's in here. It's just been moved back.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, my wife's uncle, she was a member of the Marines training corps. And we find reference to him being acquainted with Paul Revere, and Hancock, and Adams. He lived across the street from Paul Revere in Boston by Boston College. He had 4 cannons that came over in 1767. He fired a salute on the King's birthday on King Street in Boston in 1768. So, he went from Boston when the British left Boston. He went to Nova Scotia. There he went to England.
It started out that dark green. Look at it now. I mean, you know, then you got your cartridge box with your fuse case, you know, canteen, a waist belt for your sword and bayonet. I don't know what you had, but
That's what I have.
Yeah, and this sword, what my people
Oh,
use.
your leather's black though? Or is your waist belt white? I see you can jump off.
My waist belt's white as an officer. Most of my enlisted men's stuff is black. And the reason for that's where you get it. You can't get white leather anymore. You try to find white leather, but what's impossible. Not to mention keeping it clean, or you know, inside of 6 months. Especially working on a cannon, it's black anyway, because you get that shit all over your hands and you get it on the white. You know.
Now that things are starting up again, where are you going to be taking the field next?
Unfortunately, we don't do a lot right now.
Yeah, nobody does with the COVID.
Well, not just that. Even before then, my unit, I had a unit of 20 men. It kind of broke up, and so we're down to like 5 people. I'm not a member of the Continental Line, so therefore I don't get invited to events. You know, I could. I mean, I've got the documentation, and you know, I can argue anybody. Because I spent 5 years doing research on this.
Well, 5 men's enough for like a BAR membership.
Huh?
What about a BAR membership?
I don't know. Like I said, I haven't fooled with it because I haven't got a full unit yet to fool with it. But I remember the Living History Association.
BAR only requires 4 people. If you've got 5,
I have a member, or I am a member of the Living History Association. Actually, I'm president of the Living History Association.
Yeah.
And you know, I work with them and do a lot of stuff. That's why we put this on here. Plus I do other eras too. I also do World War II, Marine Pacific, and I also do a Vietnam Marine for other things. And that one I don't have to study for. I did 2 years in country, so. They want to argue with me, they can argue with me. I had some guy come up one time looking at my table for Vietnam. Oh, no. That's what's the problem? He said, oh, you wouldn't have used that, you wouldn't have used that. And I said, oh, when were you in country? This kid's about 17 years old. I was never over there, I'm too young, I'm 17. I said, don't damn well tell me what I used when I was over there for 2 freaking years. Wait. Help up.
Yeah.
Up or down.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I remember when I was at the museum, that age group was one that we did a lot of programs for.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
What a nice day for a stroll.
Yes, isn't it lovely?
Boy,
Without the beating down sun.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I know, it's nice.
what brings you out on such a beautiful summer day?
Well, we are here at Mary Lou's invitation because we are dressed in clothing of the 1891 era, and this is that was when the monument opened for the first time to the public. So that's why we are in this era of clothing.
Well, that was a great time period. Things were simpler then.
Yes, they were.
What did they call that? The Golden Age?
Gilded Age.
The Gilded Age. That was close.
Gilded Age.
Gilded.
Yep.
There
Yep.
we go. Gilded.
Post Civil War to the crash in the 20s, or actually World War I, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yep.
yeah.
So,
Well, things got more complicated as
Yeah, they
as the
did.
century turned.
they did. Yep. Yep. For sure.
Who is this gentleman who is accompanying you, ladies?
Well, this is Mike Chapman. He's my husband.
I am a no account.
Oh, okay.
On no account do I admit that.
He's a gentleman, and this is Jennifer.
You're
so,
dapper. On no account. Hello, Jennifer.
That's Mike.
I-
We got
I-
two other ladies coming.
Yep, they've been
I've seen them
About.
walking around.
Yep, yep.
And Jennifer has an insurance right there. Her bumper
Well,
chute.
as much good as they do. They're more for the sun than for rain.
Well, it is summer. Yes, we,
Yeah.
we don't want to get a tan. That's
No. Oh,
too
no,
bad.
no. Very gauche in our
Yes.
era.
It's best to be pale.
You don't
The
want to look
ivory
like a
skin.
working woman.
Thank you. You're all housewives, the people who take care of the homemaking. Are you? Are any of you
Well,
professional
we
teachers?
have help, you know.
We have help.
Yes.
We do have
Oh,
help.
Yes, we have help.
Yes.
We,
Well-
we have social obligations.
of course. It hasn't changed. We of this 21st century do it with a smartphone, and I hear that we communicate about five hours in each day at an average. I don't
Well,
believe it, but
I
I
have
left
seen,
mine at home.
yes, I have seen telephones, but they don't seem very smart to me. They're just a box that hangs on the wall, and kind of have to shout into them too. It's very
Crank
ungenteel.
it.
absolutely, yes. Well, I'm glad. I called myself a card-carrying dinosaur. You may use that if you wish.
Yes, quite, quite. Yep.
Well, thank you all for being here and enjoying the weather with me today.
Yes,
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Bennington Battle
Thank
Day.
you.
sure you remember.
I saw it. How did I miss it? Hey.
I told him there might be some whittles.
Yeah. Yeah. Sandwich stuff and all that.
Might we?
We all go in together?
I don't care.
Well, there's a bit of groups in there.
Ladies first. Because I'll do it later.
I'll see if I can get a hat.
I think you gotta have your hat.
This whole bit about Minutemen.
Yeah, right.
And I'm walking out of a house dressed like this in less than 15 minutes, and that's when you're working really efficient.
Right, right.
A Minuteman comes out of his house in his nightshirt, barefoot, with his nightcap still on his head and a musket in his hand, and that's it.
That's it.
That's fine. Give it a little twist like that. So if I said the hell with that, that's the real one might be.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But I just wonder, are they going to try to...
That's a nasty looking
Oh,
That's not bad compared to the British.
See, the funny part is the
Now,
French.
that's a knife.
Yeah, the French musket has got a longer barrel, but the British bayonet is longer. So both of them come out to 6 feet, 6.5 feet.
Like 10 pounds.
But
Can you imagine getting speared by this?
well,
Not only that.
the edges have been
Believe me, if he stuck you with this thing,
Ma'am,
it's gonna be sharp.
the edges have been milled off.
Yeah.
That when before I purchased it,
Jeez.
made that way. Man I know who's a British officer who's messing around with his bayonet and caught himself in the crook of the elbow. Took 3 months for it to heal enough to be stitched. The triangular blade with 2 concave edges, it was meant to ventilate the wound rapidly. This was a killing machine.
Tell them
Pure
about
and
the
simple.
Flash.
What's that?
Flash.
What about
Bayonets.
All right,
Get
time
their,
to go.
get their bayonets flat side facing the enemy. Hopefully the sun's that way.
Oh, when you're trying to get,
Oh.
you want to
Intimidate the enemy.
well,
Oh, yeah.
it's very intimidating just for the fact that you're firing and the other side is firing in advance in between shots. You're loading and moving. And you have the big cloud of gray smoke, especially on a damn day like today where it hangs.
You want to try any of this stuff?
And then you hear the order. You're close enough to hear all this stuff going on. Prepare to fix bayonets, fix your bayonets. And then you hear all the clinking as the bayonets are slipping onto the ends of the barrels. And then to the front march. So they're cheering on every left step. They step out of the smoke. There's hundreds of these little points aiming for them. Somebody in my ranks turns around and says, I think I hear my mom calling me. I think there's wood to be chopped at home. I'm going to go home. And everybody else says, hey, we're joining you.
Yeah, right.
Bad news, however. White rules of warfare. If you leave the battlefield, you lost. So we almost always lose. Because when it gets down to it, guys, it's getting too ugly. We're leaving. The bad news for them is the fact that instead of going home, hanging our heads and letting them walk to our capital city, take over, and declaring victory, we come back. And Hubbard
For the right size.
Seth Warner yells to the guys, meet me in Manchester in 2 weeks. The guys who scattered through the woods and up and over the hills, they come back. After I go home and chop some wood for my wife, it's like, yeah, what did we do wrong that time? Oh yeah, instead of firing at them, we stood around and watched. Maybe next time we shoot. Okay, let's go back and try that one. It was actually persistence more than anything else. Frankly speaking, George Washington was not a very good tactician. He screwed up the same way. Same time. Give him a choice of 3 places to defend. With only enough troops to defend 2, he always defended the wrong 2 places. Universal. I mean, look at Long Island, White Plains. Makes the same mistake over and over and over again. But what's important is that it keeps the army together. And as long as there's an army, there's a threat. The British have to handle the threat. When they try chasing us down, we can run faster. When they stop running, we hit them. They come after us again, we run away. That's basically the Southern campaign. That was all. That's what that was all about. We fight, we fall, we rise and fight again. Poor General Cornwallis is going back and forth across North Carolina in January.
About 7 pounds.
Yeah, we're holding it out.
Yeah, I mean it's balanced well.
That's what you wanted.
And the French helped us too.
Well, the fact
Yeah.
the French
Yeah.
showed up.
That thing.
Well, you really did get the both the front and the backsight's perfect.
Yeah.
Because I can see right down both.
Yeah.
Both of them. Usually, if I pick up a rifle,
Yeah.
I don't want to drop it. If I pick up a rifle in the sight,
yep,
I have to turn my head. But that is perfect.
Yeah.
So this looks like it's swamped a little.
It is. Yep. It's a 38-inch barrel, 54 caliber.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah, 54.
Back of the book.
No, someone gave it to me. It's a Getz. The Getz barrel. And my friend wasn't too pleased because the Getz don't do a very good job of the rifling. And first time he shot it, the rifling was so sharp that it tore the patches to shreds. And he had to take the barrel out, take the breech plug out, and he had to lap the whole barrel. And it took him like all afternoon.
Let's say like muskets during the time. We still had the medieval time swords, the shield. The world would be drastically like.
Oh yeah, if we had never advanced.
We would never, if we had never advanced, it would be.
Native Americans would probably still own most of the land around here.
Winter of 1770.
Because I mean, take a look at the Spanish in Central America and the southern, what became the United States, trying to trudge through Mexico and southern Florida in armor, in conquistador armor, with swords and all that stuff. Native Americans were going through them like grass because you couldn't see them. You couldn't hear them. Bows don't make any noise. So yeah, if we were still dealing with armored combat at the time, they would have absolutely just decimated. Now, the interesting thing is, if you go into the Napoleonic era, which is actually beyond the American Revolution, if you go into the Napoleonic era, your French heavy cavalry, for example, actually wore breastplates.
Really?
Yep, they still wore breastplates because they weren't dealing with firearms that much. It was mostly charging at people, sword on sword and all that stuff. They had carbines, they had pistols, whatever, but unless you can hit somebody in the right spot, and it's hard to hit something on a moving target. But that's probably one of the last examples of armor in combat that I can find until you get into like armor as we know it now with like mechanized warfare, tanks, you know, the outbreak of World War I.
And like now, like and like with the cutlass and everything else, like with the sword play has changed. I can tell you that much. When during the Battle of Bennington, rifle set aside, if you were to go sword on sword, the sword play was different. My uncle actually, since he's doing reenacting, he taught me some sword play. And the way they like swung, like you would have to be like you would have to know how to counter that. Like it's completely like they'd like to counter like they swung like they put their hip back. Like normally like when I've seen you really just trade it.
There were manuals for swordplay, depending on whether you were French, Italian, Spanish. They all had different manuals. But as you saw with that small sword, if you're trying to hit me with a medieval sword, I'm going to slice you up like Swiss cheese, because it's faster and it's razor sharp and it's a triangular shape. What doesn't chainmail stop? Arrows. That's basically an arrow shape. I can stab right through your chainmail with it. Plus, usually medieval armor doesn't protect you from mortal artery.
He was a mob. What he has to wear is chainmail, just hanging off of him. And he said chainmail is also really defective because you're slower.
It's heavy.
Let Mom sit there. Let Mom sit down. You want to sit here? Let Mom sit. There.
Mommy's fine, she said.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Chairs are for the old people.
Mommy isn't old enough to sit in a chair.
And the young people should be standing.
Daddy's older than mommy.
So I can talk back. I was just going to go.
That's because the seats are all taken. If you went over and said, Dad, would you like to sit down?
No, because he's fine too. He's
Yeah, he lives there.
Yeah, he told me. I had a chat.
Yeah.
He said business was so good, he ran out of everything. He said when he saw me pulling up, he was afraid that I was becoming to run away.
So that's why he's not out today.
Don't know where to point the camera. Sir, what's your name?
My name is Josh Tabor from Rutland, Vermont.
All right. How do you do?
I do good.
What is it that you have on your table here?
I have historically accurate powder horns in different sizes, large, medium, and small. And I handcraft them from cattle that were butchered here locally in different slaughter areas. And I get the bones boiled out, and I cut them down, scrape them smooth, and I make a pine plug for the rear end.
Yeah.
And, yep. And I usually put in wooden pegs, is what they used to use for the most part. And I make the wooden stopper small end, and I try to sell them here. This is actually my first time here.
Wow. So the people that would buy them would be the reinterpreters of the area?
Reenactors, or you know, if they like a horn. I just had a lady buy a horn just a little while ago because she liked the color. So yeah, and so I make those, and I make other things. These are ball pouches for round ball.
Yeah.
This is actually a rough horn that I'm working on now.
Oh, that's the big one. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to cut it down.
Oh.
A little bit. So I'm going to be doing that. And I also, through a friend of mine named David Person from Braintree, we built this. This is an exact copy of a Lancaster, Pennsylvania long rifle during the 1770s.
Oh, they had a reputation. Yeah.
This is all handmade. We only use a power drill twice. The rest of it were all, you know, hand crank drills where you crank it by hand. A pattern maker's rasp, scrapers, other files, and chisels.
It's a work of art.
Into that. This started out as a 2-inch piece of wood.
Oh well, every tree, every piece of wood starts out as a tree.
Exactly. So this this patch box is a copy of a Jacob Decker patch box. It's a tulip style that was handmade.
Oh,
handmade So really, it's hard.
I think we've got an event starting over there.
Yeah. You guys have a good rest of your day and you enjoy it.
Thank you, Josh.
You're very welcome.
Marching up to the monument.
I'm sorry.
I got the music.
Are you shooting for yourself? Or?
No, community television.
Cat TV?
Yeah.
I was the one founding them for Cat TV.
Oh, Brattleboro.
Oh, Brattleboro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. We are the Moodus Drum and Fife Corps out of Moodus, Connecticut.
Hey!
We were here at the original dedication of this monument. So they were kind enough to invite us back to perform again. So thank you very much for inviting us. We're a Revolutionary War Iroquois Corps, even though we organized at the time of the Civil War. But we've been organized since 1860. So this corps is probably one of the oldest corps you'll find. And the drums that you're going to hear today are all calfskin. So they're all calfskin heads. They were made by a drum company called Eli Brown & Son. They're out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. They're all from the early 1800s. Like this is 1827, this drum was made. So you're going to hear a lot of early drums that have a distinct kind of sound because they are skins. And then we have awesome fifers that have to play loud because these drums are loud and they ring. But we're just going to play some selections, I guess, and we're going to play a few sets. We'll take a break in between, and we'll do a little marching too, I think. Thank you.
And I just want to mention that the monument opened 130 years ago, and for the dedication, this was the style the ladies wore in 1891, and the gentlemen.
I'm no
Styles
gentleman.
have changed in 100 years.
And you're overdressed.
General time with the rest. General time.
10-minute break. Okay, cover your ears. Flintstock, prepare to fire. Fire.
Okay, folks, that's 1 out of 3. 4 ounces of powder inside an aluminum container. They didn't have those back then. Slide the container down inside the barrel. They pick and prime, insert the fuse, and then it goes off.
I'd want to stand there. You're not going to want that far up there. Ram down, cartridge. It gets loud.
They might be shooting a whole bunch of balls and everything else.
Flintstock. Prepare to fire. Fire.
If you're curious, when they fire during battle, the best they can do is 3 times a minute. 6 minutes. Each one has a sign fast. Make a mistake on it. I actually have a bucket of water in front. They put a sponge in, and that water will clean the barrel out afterwards. Make sure there's no sparks in there. And they put the new charge of powder in, because that would be kind of over in a hurry.
Clean the barrel.
Go around the tent.
Could be too late.
Yeah, you're right.
Ram down, cartridge.
And cartridge in, cartridge ram down. That's father and son team over there, Marines.
Pick your prime.
Pick a hole in the cartridge and prime.
Not in those days. Yeah, right. Now, is he poking that fuse down in there?
Pick up your ice cream. Come on,
take a break.
Yeah. But you're saying you're two. Oh, no, not